Parenting is a tough job, but parenting during a pandemic is even tougher. How can mindfulness help you and your children, and how can you apply it to your life right now? Stay tuned to find out.
This is a Candy Factory Mini, Mastering the Mindful Mindset.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Mastering the Mindful Mindset. I'm your host, José Johnson. Today, we're going to talk about ways that parents and children can use mindfulness. Now, parenting can be an extremely stressful job. Trying to find a way to balance your needs with the needs of your children can test the limits of our physical, mental, and emotional energy in the best of times. But when you're trying to parent during a pandemic, the increases in stress and anxiety can become completely overwhelming for you and for your child. Virtual schooling combined with working from home can lead to an increase in friction between family members. Canceled events like sports, dance, or music leave some kids feeling disappointed and parents scrambling to find new ways to keep their children occupied. And of course, there's just the overall feeling of uncertainty that's been in the air for the past year. So how can you better manage your self-care? How can you help your child and yourself maintain focus? And what are some of the practical ways that you can restore balance in your home? Well, let's just start with the easiest one first. Just breathe. Breathing is the easiest way to hack into your autonomic nervous system. And just the simple act of bringing your awareness to your breath, the rhythm and the quality of your breathing, can help you reduce stress and reclaim focus. Now, in my last episode, I explained how to do the reset breath. Now, if you haven't watched that episode, make sure you do. But today, I want to share with you a few additional breathing exercises. One of the most common methods to regulate your breathing is a technique called square breathing. And look, it's super easy to do. Typically, you're instructed to breathe in for 4 counts and to hold your breath for 4 counts. You exhale for 4 counts, and then you do another hold for 4 counts before you start the cycle again. Right, so let's just do a couple of cycles together. Ready? Inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and inhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3. Last one. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's just that simple. This is something that you can do by yourself, or it's actually an activity that you could do with your child. In fact, doing breathing exercises together with your child, that can help to get your brain waves and your energy states a little more in sync. Now, here's a couple of variations that I want you to consider. The first is to simply increase the count. So you do a 5 count, an 8 count, a 10 count, right, whatever. Right. The other way is to incorporate movement. Now this works out great with taking a walk. So synchronize your steps and your breathing. So breathe in for 4 steps, hold for 4 steps, etc. Now, the final way is one that I really enjoy since I'm also a musician. Listen to a song and sync your breath with the beat. If the song's very slow, you might just do a 4 count. If the song's really fast, you maybe inhale for the first half of the verse, hold for the second half, right? Whatever works for you. But this is also a great way to introduce concepts like rhythm and phrasing to young budding musicians. So keep in mind that breathing exercises like square breathing and the reset breath can help you to reduce your levels of stress and anxiety, which helps you to think clearer and become less reactive. And while this is something that is beneficial to everyone from time to time, the additional stress and anxiety that we are all dealing with as a result of the pandemic just compounds things, making mindful strategies an absolute necessity. And even as things begin to open back up, there's still going to be a lot of stress to deal with as we transition into the post-COVID era. Change always creates stress and anxiety, so tools like mindful breathing will never become obsolete. So make sure you make these types of exercises part of your daily self-care, and make sure that you teach your children as well. We adults tend to think that we corner the market on stress and anxiety. Well, we don't. While your child doesn't have the added concerns that you do as an adult, you don't have the rapidly changing hormones of a child. Hormones are a huge component of our emotional makeup. And as children go through their growth cycles, there's a change in the hormonal balances. And with it comes physical and emotional changes. When the world around them is changing, and their bodies and the world inside them is changing as well, this can leave them with a feeling of being lost, completely adrift. This is one of the reasons that mindfulness should be a part of the educational and parenting process. So let's take a look at some of the research. In a 2010 study, third graders who went through an 8-week mindfulness program showed improvements in behavioral regulation. Now, that basically means that they improved their ability to handle frustrations, manage emotions, and resist impulsive behaviors. And what parent or teacher wouldn't appreciate that, particularly in our current climate? This is achieved because mindfulness is metacognition, which is the high-level mental process that allows us to think about our thinking. Another study on preschoolers showed that children who went through a 12-week mindfulness program actually scored higher on academic performance measures than the children who didn't participate. Now, again, what parent wouldn't want to give their child an opportunity to improve their academic performance? Now, what about social skills? We all recognize that social skills are critical in the classroom, at home, and at play. And according to a study published in 2013, after 5 weeks of mindfulness training, children became better participants in activities, and that it created a classroom culture of mutual respect and care. Emotional problems such as anxiety, stress, and depression can affect a child's self-esteem, performance, and social interactions. Mindfulness practice has been proven to improve the ability to manage stress, which creates a deeper sense of well-being. In a 2005 study of preteens, a 5-week mindfulness program helped the students feel calmer, feel better about themselves, and improve their sleep. Mindfulness has also been found to increase positive emotions and optimism in elementary school age children. So the question isn't, should I teach my child about mindfulness? The question is, how should you teach your child? Mindfulness seems to be a difficult subject for most adults to understand and practice for themselves, let alone to try and teach a child about it. But the truth is that mindfulness is way simpler than you think. And that's the purpose of the show and all of my work, to give you practical ways to live a more mindful life. So let's look at some ways to introduce your child to the practice of mindfulness. When I was running my martial arts studio, I developed an exercise for my youngest students, and I called it the Quiet Master. I got the inspiration from watching Kung Fu Panda. It's a great way to introduce kids to the practice of meditation. Now, if you have a child, you know the best way to get them to move and make noise is to tell them to sit still and be quiet. And that actually goes for adults too. My theory is that it relates to our subconscious mind's inability to hear the word don't. Whenever you say things like, don't look at that, or don't scratch that itch, what happens? Well, you guessed it. You do it anyway. Because your subconscious filters out the don't. So don't look at that becomes the command, look at that. And don't move becomes move. So when we try to force kids into staying still by saying things like sit still and don't move, it's no wonder that they can't do it. So how can you get around this problem? Well, one way is to gamify the process, and that's what I did with the Quiet Master. I created a challenge to sit still and quiet. I made it a game. I even held a competition one day that I actually had to stop early because it was taking too long. A big part of the process was to recruit the reward network of the brain by tying a reward to the practice, an ethical bribe, if you will. I once told my class of 3 and 4-year-olds that if the entire class could do Quiet Master for 15 minutes, then we'd have a big pizza party. And guess what? They did it. So the rules of Quiet Master are easy. Your child just has to sit still without moving or speaking. Now, there are 2 ways that you can do this. The first is to have an agreed upon time frame. Now, I feel that it's always best to make this a collaborative effort. So ask your child, how long do they think that they can be still and quiet? If it's too short of a time, like 1 minute, ask them if they think they can do a little bit more. Keep going up incrementally until you find a challenging number. Although sometimes you may need to do the opposite. Some kids will immediately say something like, all day. And as much as that might simplify your day, it's probably not going to happen. So help them set a more realistic goal, like 3 minutes. Another way to do this is to make it a head-to-head challenge. And the best person to have them compete with is not one of their siblings. It's you. So make a bet as to who can be still and quiet for the longest. Something like the winner gets to pick the next movie that you watch or what you're going to have for dinner. And this is a great way to get your child introduced to the power of meditation, and you get a little bonus quiet time for yourself. Another way to apply mindfulness as part of the parenting process is to practice mindful communications. The words we use are a reflection of the thoughts and feelings that we have about the world and about ourselves. But too often we don't think about how our words impact ourselves and others. Mindful communications is a way to bring our awareness to our thoughts and our words, and also to be able to create shifts in how we react and respond by creating a shift in our vocabulary. One of the first tools you can teach your child to use is affirmations. Kids are often bombarded by negativity, being told all of the things that they aren't as opposed to all of the things that they could become. Getting your child to believe in themselves is the first real key to success in life. But the words that they hear from themselves and others often create a roadblock. So help your child come up with some power words that they can use on a daily basis. Now, those don't have to be airy-fairy kind of affirmations. They actually need to be practical and realistic. Things like, I can do this if I work hard enough. I trust myself to do the right thing. I'm a good person. I always do my best, and that's all that really matters. Do things like print them out and post them on the fridge, or hang them in the room, or even let them write it on a mirror so that they can look at themselves as they read the affirmation and even say it out loud. Another way of approaching mindful communications is to make a deal with your child to not use certain words or phrases. It's amazing how many parents become appalled when a child drops the F-bomb, but they don't bat an eye when the same child uses words like stupid, dummy, loser, ugly, or idiot to describe themselves or others. So try to find a creative solution. One way is to use a banned word jar. Now, if you're familiar with a swear jar, this is basically the same thing. You create a list of words that express thoughts and feelings that you don't want your child to have about themselves and others, and every time someone uses that word, yourself included, they have to pay the fine. The fine money should be used to do something positive for someone else, like give it to a charity. You can also make it a challenge, much like the Quiet Master exercise. Challenge your child not to make a negative statement for an hour or for a whole day. And if they can do it, they can earn a reward. And if you're up for the challenge, play the game with them. Make a friendly wager with your child to see who can go the longest without complaining or saying anything negative. You might be surprised at how hard it is, and that will give you insight into where your child's vocabulary is actually coming from. And to bring it all back to you as a parent, the best thing that you can do for your child is to make your self-care a priority. Look, you can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself first. So set aside at least 30 minutes a day to do something for yourself. Take a walk, take a hot bath, Read a book. Anything that relaxes your mind and feeds your soul. And sometimes the best self-care is simple as saying no to a request from someone else, or simply lowering your expectations for yourself and for others. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed our time together today and that you have a better understanding of how mindfulness can be applied as an effective parenting tool. If you want to learn more about this topic, please email me at jose@josejohnson.com. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to cover in a future episode, just drop it in the comments section and I'll do my best to help you out. Make sure you subscribe and share this episode with someone that you feel could benefit from this information, and also take the time to check out all the other great programming brought to you by the Candy Factory Collective here on the So Good Lancaster Media Network. So until next time, remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great. Mastering the Mindful Mindset is part of the Candy Factory mini-series and is a proud member of the Candy Factory Collective.
Learn more about José at his website, josejohnson.com. Mastering the Mindful Mindset is produced by the Candy Factory Collective for So Good Lancaster, another great project of the Candy Factory, a co-working and social club in Lancaster, PA. Production support by Jason Mundok and Anna Tran. Administrative support by Ann Kirby and Arianna Henderson. Find out what makes Lancaster so good at sogoodlancaster.com. Candy Factory.
Collective.